Thank you for tuning in and welcome to the first episode of the Call of Duty Esports Countdown to Cold War podcast brought to you by the University of Oregon DuckTV Esports Division. This is Alec Sapolin and I got some friends with me, so I'm going to let you guys introduce yourselves here.
I guess I'll go first. I'm Billy Spots. I hosted the Round 11 podcast for the spring or winter term of last year when we were actually able to be on campus, and obviously with COVID and everything, we had to redo everything. We took a term off, but I'm just excited to be talking Call of Duty Esports again. I missed it.
Hi, I'm Michael. I was with Billy and Alec on a lot of Call of Duty podcasts that we had rolling last year. And although it's been a while since we've been talking about Call of Duty together, I have to say that I was pretty impressed by the whole spring and summer of Call of Duty action, just in terms of how well things were still pulled off, how well the season went. And it's giving me a lot of optimism as we move into Cold War, and I'm excited to count down to that.
Good to meet y'all. My name is Alex Larvik. This is my first year at U of O, my first year on DuckTV, my first podcast. Things about me. I'm an undecided major. I'm a Nazir main on League of Legends, and I'm happy to be here.
Nice.
There we go. So let's just start by a little timeline. How the hell did we get here? How did we get here? How are we at October 27th with 2 weeks left before Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War drops? Let's go into a little bit of the timeline, as Michael was saying about the Call of Duty action. I will say that the devs over at Modern Warfare, they took the game to the next level in terms of transponding into Easter eggs and different hunts, as you see guys like Noah J156 and all of those guys. The Call of Duty Zombies community actually was the one who really kicked this off for us, because they had all these boxes sent to them by Treyarch and all the devs. And with that in mind, they pushed it out to be something greater than the sum of its parts, something that really, in all honesty, blew my mind. Billy, what do you think about the entirety of the Black Ops? I will say that the leaks, let's call it the leaks.
Are you talking about just like the teasers that they were sending people?
Yes.
I thought a lot of it was like really cool in theory, right? Like the old school project, like they sent like 3 different models of old school projectors to 3 different people, or like to like different content creators across like YouTube and Twitch and whatnot. So it's like, I know Courage, who I think he's with 100 Thieves. He's heavily associated with 100 Thieves, but I can't remember if he's like actually in them. I'm pretty sure he's a part of that organization, but I know he got stuff. You mentioned Noah J456. There's some other people. I feel like Treyarch always does a really what's the right term for this? I don't want to just say like an extra job of doing it, but like they always really get into the theatrics of building up hype for their games. Like they're the ones that really kind of the veteran and the noob ads that came out, started with like Modern Warfare 3. Those were kind of taken to a weird level with Black Ops 2 and then going forward into Black Ops 3 and Black Ops 4. But overall, I got to say, it was just, I thought a lot of the effort they were putting into it was a lot of fun, and I really kind of appreciated it, just from like kind of like not a goofy like history nerd perspective way of looking at things, but just like I really, really appreciated the lengths they were willing to go to get people excited for their game. And I mean, at least for me personally, it's worked, but that's tied to a lot of more reasons than just stuff tied to the game itself.
Alex, what do you think?
Well, just reflecting on the way that that COD marketed, or that the game that Activision marketed Cold War, is I agree with Billy in that there's a lot of that. I think most AAA developers have sort of gotten down their whole, like, games aren't just released now when it comes to like big studios. They have to, it's like an occasion. They put this much time and money and resources into these things. I mean, they have to they have to announce it. And so like, and I think thematically, like they're like the way Activision went about their advertising was really clever as well, because set in the Cold War. There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of spy action. A lot of like our the image we have of the Cold War in our head is like, you know, guys in suits and fedoras and passing like files to one another, and like, you know, dropping a suitcase here and having another guy pick it up, and then like going into an unmarked car and then going someplace else and dropping off the suitcases. A lot of that. And so like seeing what they did, you know, they have like the projector, and then they sent out the crates to certain content creators, and then they gave they had a slide projector and VHS tapes, and they gave you ciphers to solve, and they really leaned hard into the spy, like sort of made you feel like you were solving something, made you feel like you were cracking the code, and you weren't even the one doing it, you're just following people. So I thought it was really clever. I think it fed into the sort of narrative of the game, and I think it was a very calculated move, especially.
And then Michael, you know, after the original leaks popped up, you saw the Know Your History game mode pushed out in a quick little patch from Activision. What did you think about that? That was something that was so cool to see. Everyone was losing their minds on that day. We're just like, oh my God, this is what it looks like.
Yeah. That was going to be my point was, I don't think we've ever seen a previous Call of Duty market the next, you know, successor so well. And part of that, it is all under the Activision umbrella. So obviously there is supposed to be just, you know, hype building for the next and next games, but there was always this division between like, oh, it's now this studio's turn, you know, so there was sort of a weird pass off that would happen. And there still is that to a certain extent, but what was different was seeing just the patchwork and the stuff happening in Warzone and the Know Your History game mode, the stuff happening in Call of Duty Modern Warfare to build up hype for Call of Duty Cold War is unlike anything I've seen, and it was just so well done. I mean, I really think the Treyarch and everyone that put that together got exactly what they wanted out of it, which is community engagement. They got incredible community engagement. People were, you know, so excited to solve these puzzles, to learn about what's happening, to be a part of the big mystery unraveling. And then people like me that weren't even actively trying to solve it or involved were still impressed and blown away by the lengths that, you know, like the zombies community was going through. And I was just casually checking this stuff out on Twitter and just watching videos and being like, oh my gosh, this is awesome.
So I think that's enough talking about how we got to the game, and let's actually talk about the darn game. So have you guys, I know in our conversations here and there that we have tried the beta. I want to kind of gauge your guys' thoughts. I thought that the beta turned out a lot better than I thought it would. A couple of highlights that I know is like during multiplayer matchups that you have the health bar above the individual opponents, which can lead to be very helpful for, you know, saying, "Oh my God, I had a hit on him." You know,
he's one shot.
Yeah,
when he's actually full
shot.
health.
Yes, exactly. He's one shot when he's full of health. So you know, and now it's actually more, oh, I really had one shot, or wow, my aiming absolutely sucks. Michael, what do you think?
Yeah, and this is something that was, I think it started with Infinite Warfare, with the health bar. It stayed for Black Ops 4. It's, you know, going to be in Cold War in that sort of capacity. I like it. I think it's just more information, and I think it's more transparent in a way that, you know, you do damage, don't know how close you actually were. You don't know, you know, how much this shot or whatever did, stuff like that. I just think it's a cool extra thing. I don't think it really, like, some people could say they don't like it, and I respect that, but from my perspective, I don't see it detracting or taking away from the experience.
Yeah, Billy, what were some of your insights on it?
I really like the health bar thing, like you mentioned. One conversation that I saw get a lot of traction that really kind of weirded me out. Not weirded me out, that's not the right way to phrase it, but like I was kind of like, did we play the same Modern Warfare? But one thing I kept saying is that a lot of people were discussing how much better Modern Warfare looked compared to Black Ops Cold War. Um, and I feel like, I don't know, maybe I'm just jaded by really good graphics at this point, but I just did not care about the graphical difference. I didn't feel like the graphical difference was significant enough for it to impact my decision. To be fair, I don't think Modern Warfare is that good of a game to, or like that good of a looking game to begin with. I think it's very muddy in a lot of ways, and a lot of the details. Like I know they got a lot of details regarding the guns, right? Like I'm not that big of a, I'm not that big of a gun guy, but I know a lot of people were like, "Oh, they get all these things right with with the ARs or the shotguns and whatnot," and it's like I can understand appreciating that, but like for me, when I'm like trying to play a game, like the game itself has to be fundamentally like sound, at least for like a competitive multiplayer game. And what I experienced so far in Cold War has me a little worried about some things. But overall, I thought the game itself looked fine. I thought Satellite was one of the coolest looking maps that has been rolled out in a Call of Duty game since, honestly, probably since like Black Ops 3. Because Black Ops 3 had some of my favorite maps just from like a visual perspective. But um, yeah, I mean, just strictly in like kind of that like limited worldview, I really liked the way the maps looked. The guns did look like, and I guess I want to get your guys' opinion on this too, but I thought the guns kind of looked very like they looked like airsoft rifles almost, which I know could throw some people for a loop, but like it didn't bother me that much. But it was one thing I was like, these look very like plasticky, which is fine for me, but it could bother some people.
The big takeaway from your analysis that is Billy Spots, big graphics guy.
Yeah.
No, opposite of that. Like the game can look like Terraria or something, but the game has to be fundamentally sound in the first place.
I'm gonna build off that because Black Ops 3 and Black Ops 2 before it, but then Black Ops 3 in terms of really good maps that looked really awesome. And they had their own style and they had this visual thing happening. They knocked it out of the park in such a way with Black Ops 3 with how good the maps looked that every game after that has sort of been trying to follow in those footsteps and has sort of fallen short of that. And it's an easy thing to criticize with how maps look to the point where Black Ops 4 actually had really vibrant, colorful maps. And I think the criticism that was thrown at that one was that it was too much, that there was just like a lot of information on the screen all the time. And there was a lot of different things going on. They were a little too intricate. But I did, to build off your point too with Satellite, I like the way it looks. It doesn't bother me. And I think Satellite is a great example of a cool map that has a really neat visual design that it, what is it? It brings you in. It's something that you sticks with your mind. And you remember it, and yet it doesn't do that by just throwing a bunch of colors at you. It is a very plain color palette. It is a brown map, but it's a brown map that has some sort of intrigue and interest to it, and it sticks with you. And that's key to that is it's not so much about just the color palette, which is an easy thing that people criticize is like, oh, this is just brown. It's just, and it's something that I can't even articulate into words, but it's purely design and little details that, make you remember little things about the map rather than just, some maps that you just could not care anything about. You're like, oh, that was no.
And you guys know my feelings on Modern Warfare. I was not a fan of that game. I can appreciate that a lot of people liked it, but I was not a fan. I ended up playing more Warzone than I did actual multiplayer. But one thing that really bothered me about Modern Warfare was that none of the like competitive maps were even appealing to look at, right? Like Azir Cave is probably the map that I think aged best out of Modern Warfare. Like, I don't think it's a great map by any means, but it's one of those maps where it's like, looking back on it, I'm like, okay, yeah, that one wasn't that bad. But like Hackney Yard, Gunrunner, I saw so much of those maps that the only reason I remember anything about them is because it was just beaten over my head repeatedly regarding them. But
yeah, sorry, going off the map conversation. Don't mean to interrupt you there, but I really loved Modern Warfare. I thought like in terms of gameplay and how smooth it felt, like it was probably the most fun I've had like playing a Call of Duty since Black Ops 2. Like I thought like Black Ops 3, like fun. Infinity Warfare was all right. BO4 was all right, but like Modern Warfare was just like, oh, that was so good. And
Mhm.
but it was interesting how like for me the best feeling Call of Duty in years could have the worst design maps of like there's just so sus, dude.
Yeah,
With
yeah.
between Piccadilly and Euphrates Bridge, I just like it was.
Oh,
I have
Euphrates Bridge made me want to jump off a bridge.
I have trauma. I have trauma from it, man. I swear.
Yeah.
And
See, that's
so
we're talking about the good maps being boring, and then you get into the bad maps, and it's
yeah,
like,
no. So
oh,
I think
okay.
like I really liked Miami. I know I'm somewhat of a minority, but I loved the design of Miami. I liked the juxtaposition of like the darkness of the night scene, followed with like the really bright like poppy neon and the ocean right to the one side and the city skylines to the left. It was very cinematic. It felt cool. um I I gotta say, the game looked like COD. I don't really, honestly, I don't really like maybe I look at the most I pay attention to like what the game looks like is probably like in the 15-second countdown before a match starts in multiplayer. And then like I don't know, the nature of Call of Duty for me is maybe I'm just like ADD or something, but like I'm like not really looking at anything long enough to be able to know. It's like, oh, like
Mhm.
the the fidelity on that gun, like the way the light glints off that gun sort of makes it look plasticky, you know. I'm like,
yeah, yeah.
or maybe I'm just dying too often, I don't know. But I think I do agree with you though. I did notice that I didn't like I didn't. I thought Modern Warfare was very like they weren't really trying to go with like because Black Ops 3 was very vibrant. It was
Yeah.
it was
Very
sort
in
of
your
like
face in
it
that
was
regard.
it was like an outlandish game, right? And they really wanted to give that not like they didn't want to ground Modern Warfare, but they wanted to. It's like when people talk about like Battlefield 1 and they say like they said Battlefield 1's great because it's like the most realistic Battlefield. It's like no, that's not true. It's the most realistic looking Battlefield that has the most like realistic atmosphere, right? And so there's like, and so I think the atmosphere they were trying to go for with Modern Warfare lended itself to more bland and dry maps, especially because there's a lot of conflict. A lot of the conflict in the game happens in Urzikstan. Is that what the state in?
It
Yeah,
was,
Urzikstan.
yeah, it was some like fictional.
Yeah,
Uh,
so
yeah,
and so a lot of the colors were like sort of dry and washed out and deserty, but I feel Cold War because it's like set in the like the 60s and like the height of that time period. I think we might get a bit more, you know, disco. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and that's a
yeah,
good point. We didn't have a lot of beta maps to really judge either, but Miami is a great example of a map that it's got interesting colors and design and whatnot. I think it's an open conversation for like the actual design of the map and how fun it is to play and how competitive it's going to be.
yeah,
But the maps that we saw, I think, passed the test, and just the graphics passed the test for me of just
mhm,
being cool and interesting, and it didn't bother me.
yeah. It was, I mean, mainly that was just a conversation I was saying on like Reddit and whatnot, and I was just kind of like, I don't get it really, because like there wasn't anything graphically that bothered me, like I said earlier, but like the other two maps I think were Moscow and Cartel. I think Moscow, just in terms of like map flow, was probably my favorite, but that's also because it was a fairly like normal 3-lane map, right? It's like with Moscow, you have the far left side, which has the fountain, and it's like I don't know. If you played it, you know what I'm talking about. And then you have like the middle section through like the hotel. Not it's like it's not a hotel lobby, but like there's that big statue in the middle. Then you have the right side, that's the street side with the buses and whatnot. And I thought Moscow was a lot of fun to play. I think like anytime I played on that map, I was like, okay, this is really fun. Um, but just to kind of like finish out the map discussion, if you guys want to, like, I think by far the map I disliked the most was Cartel, and it wasn't for anything in particular. It was that I mean, because there's two reasons in particular. I lied. I spoke too soon. Um, there is that upper treehouse thing in the middle of the map that is so hard to get people out of, and then there's also all of those hedges in that one big area that make it so hard to see anybody. Like there were times where like I was playing hardpoint on it and I'd like slide in and I would just slide right past somebody and I would die. I would, get shot at. And then like, I'd be like, I don't even know where they were from. And then I would see their screen and I was just like, they were just hiding in a hedge and I couldn't see them. So mainly for that, I guess it's just like a visual clarity issue. But overall, the maps they showed in the beta, I really, really liked. I thought they were a lot of fun.
Yeah, I really liked Miami. I really got the whole Scarface vibe off that. I saw like in the hotel. I just got a huge Scarface vibe where you have Tony Montana saying, with the gun and all that stuff. I just got that when he meets his unfortunate demise, and he goes, "Say hello to my little friend," and then
I knew we were gonna get an impression. I knew that was gonna lead up to an impression.
You want to play rough?
Yeah.
But no, it was. I got that vibe, and that's just because of the color palette of the maps, as you guys are saying. There were some maps that in Modern Warfare that were really good, that hit. The Azir Caves and the St. Petros, they did it for me. But
Oh, St. Petro is a good example. I forgot about
yeah, St. Petro. It's a great example, great color palette, and great dynamic and contrast of colors and everything. But in terms of Call of Duty, in terms of Cold War, you have so many more options for a color palette that your eyes, I think, it's becoming more of a colorful map, if you understand where I'm getting at, where you have a different variation of color palettes that you're looking at, but it's not becoming overpowering like it was for Black Ops 4, where you had all the colors, or like the Infinity Wars or whatever it was, Infinite Warfare. There it goes. I'm thinking
Oh.
And to talk about, I think this is a
color.
good segue in from how maps look into map design itself and how fun that
Yes.
is to play. Because one of the things that is so obvious sometimes to me, and this is literally, I don't even need to go from my personal experience. I can pick right out from what Billy said. Some of the most frustrating maps we've seen in the last few Call of Duties have a thing happening in the middle of the map that is really annoying. And even if that thing in the middle of the map isn't there, that's really annoying. The map has no structure besides being like a circle. The whole map is just like, well, you go in a circle and there's some stuff happening in the middle, but it's just loosey-goosey. And then the maps that you're like, oh, this is fun, this is great. Very nice 3-lane classic maps that are just like, here's the start, here's the finish, go whichever direction you want. And you're like, oh, those are awesome.
Michael does not like the things.
No,
the bridge.
It's such an interesting like conversation, right? Because going into Modern Warfare, there was a lot of people going, "Oh, we're tired of 3-lane maps," which I can get. They can be fairly formulaic. They can be very repetitive.
They need to be done well, because if they're super boring, then it's just like this is so boring. It's a bunch of what was it? What was the map in Modern Warfare that was just cargo containers? Was it?
Shipments.
Are you thinking shipment or a different one?
Like it was because it was the competitive.
Oh, it was no, wait. Hackney Yard.
Yeah, it was the competitive map where it was really just running around boxes, and I was just like, "This whole map is just boxes."
Yeah, Hackney Yard and Gunrunner. Like, I know we're gonna like, unless you want to touch on it now, I guess, but like, as somebody who at this point has watched, 7 years worth of competitive Call of Duty, right? I've been watching this since middle school. Like I don't even claim to be an expert in any regard, but there's a reason why 3-lane maps work so well for competitive Call of Duty. It's because it makes spawn systems simplistic, and it makes map flow just work effortlessly, right? So one thing that I really appreciated about Moscow in particular, the map, is that it felt very 3-laned, right? But then like when you think about where engagements happen in the map, it becomes more fluid and less 3-laned, right? So it's like, yes, you have that middle lobby area, and yes, you have the street side with the buses, and then yes, you have the other kind of like fountain side, but each place has a way to get into the other lane and has another way to get into an engagement area. And in that map alone, you have a bunch of different engagement areas. And so I'm really excited to see that get played, at least for competitive, specifically with Control, because Control is coming back, and I'm so glad it's coming back, because Control was one of the best things from Black Ops 4. And Black Ops 4, I I thought it was okay. I'm not the biggest fan of it in retrospect. One of the biggest issues it had is that all the 3-lane maps were pretty much carbon copies of each other. Like they were good 3-lane maps, but when it's the same map every time, or like just in terms of like flow, you're kind of just like, okay, this is getting boring, which is why I think it rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. I mean, that plus like microtransactions, but that's like a completely different discussion unrelated to Call of Duty as a whole. But the maps we saw, I think, all played differently, and I think that's something that's really exciting for the competitive side of things, because with Modern Warfare, right, it was always pretty much every map no one played for the first hill and hardpoint. It was always you got to set up spawns and control for the second hill, because you can get 60 off the second hill when you could probably only get 20 to 30 off the first hill. So I'm really hoping to see that change going forward into Cold War, but that's something that we won't even really get to see until maybe January, which is kind of frustrating. But sorry, I just went on a tangent because I like map flow and map design is something that's really
Speaking
intriguing
of
from a
maps,
competitive
I want to push something that I am very, very, very excited about. Gentlemen, map selection is back.
Oh, thank God.
Less.
You're telling me I
am
don't have
so
to play
tired.
Hackney Yard for the 4th time?
No more.
No, you have to play it for the
Bridgeways.
5th because everybody chose it.
Because it's one of the only like maps that isn't like ripping toenails out to play. Oh,
Yeah, exactly.
okay. There was a DLC map for Modern Warfare that I actually really liked, and I can't remember what it was, but it was the one that had like, okay, Shoot House was good, but Shoot House was very traditional 3-lane too. But it was the one that had like it was the one that had a garden in the middle.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
I can't think of the name of it, but
the
I really like
roads
that one.
the 2 roads beside it, and like a little courtyard in the middle with the fountain.
Yeah, and then
I
like
know
one
what
of the
you're talking about.
spawns was like a bar.
Palace.
No, it wasn't Palace. No.
Oh.
One of the spawns was a bar.
I know what you're talking about. Mm-hmm.
I like that map.
I forget. I know what you're talking about. I forget the name.
Well, it's interesting. It's interesting. Modern Warfare is like, because a lot of factors went into how poorly the maps were handled in that game. Like, I think first and foremost is the TTK was so small, was so short in Modern Warfare, especially like in the early days before they nerfed the M4. Like you'll just like have everyone running like an operator and like maybe a muzzle brake and doming people in like 2 shots from across the map, and there was and the maps they designed were very urban or very, very wide open. So there's a lot of places that you could get shot from, and there weren't really too many and you didn't really have. I feel like there were a lot of places you could get shot from, and there weren't a lot of ways you could appropriately react or appropriately find cover quickly enough because TTK was short. And the best example I can think of that is Piccadilly. Piccadilly was absolutely terrible. It was like, I hate it. It was my least favorite map to play because again, if you're standing like in the area, like before you're going up the scaffolding to where you can overlook the map, and you're by the red bus, you can get shot from your left, you can get shot from straight ahead, you can get shot from behind, you can get shot from the guy in the window over on the opposite side of the map, and
you can
all
get
those
shot from everywhere.
and for me there wasn't enough balance in how you could balance, and there wasn't a reliable way to balance the TTK with the way the maps were handled. Azir was a bit better because there was more cover, and it was like a 2-lane map, and so you could at least like get separation. But like Piccadilly and I guess Euphrates to a lesser extent just sort of felt like chaos, right? Like you're just like running around like trying not to get shot from like 3,000 locations. And which really made it, and the guns that, and when people like, the growl sort of made like cover redundant for a while I don't know if you guys played Modern Warfare recently, but the DLC or the marksman rifle that they released in the latest season.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Yeah.
One that can be that can get put into Lapua rounds.
Yeah, yep. Yeah.
That's just stupid. That breaks the game.
Yeah, no. So
Oh,
and so
no.
an entire lobby was running that marksman rifle with 338 and with
Yeah.
it chambered in 338, and so you're just like, I don't know. And then because you're dying constantly because there's not enough defense to balance the offense. You're spawning constantly, and that means because of the spawning system, you're getting spawned like right in front of people, right behind people, and like I'll hop in and I'll like walk 3 steps and I'll perch up somewhere and try and wait for someone to walk into my
Mhm.
crosshairs, and then like their enemy team, like the 2 guys of their enemy team just pop up behind me like some eldritch horror and just like destroy me. And it's I don't know, man. The spawning system was weird, and so there's a lot of like factors that played into how the gameplay in Modern Warfare was odd with concerning the maps. And I feel like because Cold Wars, it felt more deliberate. It felt slower. It felt like you could still get around, but you couldn't get around quite as quickly as you could in Modern Warfare. And the TTK was probably 75% slower in my opinion. And maps were designed for it. And I feel like we're getting more. It felt more like MW2 than Modern Warfare. And so I feel like we'll have a bit more deliberate play, a bit slower, and especially with your health bar, I feel like you'll have a better control of the game, know when to push, know when to not push, stuff like that.
And then lastly, what do you guys think about just the overall? Do you guys give? What grade would you give this? That's what I'm going to ask. What grade would you give the beta if the beta was a complete game with no bugs, no things that they need to finish up in the last couple weeks before launch? What grade would you give that?
I'd have to. I mean, personally speaking, I'd have to play more. But from what I did play, I would sit like pretty solidly at like a B minus, because like none of the issues that I had were enough to be like, this is game breaking. I can't ever deal with this. This is terrible, right? All the issues that I did come across were like, I mean, a lot of the ones people complained about were things like netcode and lag and like ghost bullets, and that's not really on Treyarch. That's more on the backside of things that like Activision supporting, at least like server side and whatnot. Um, but I liked the changes they made from the alpha to the beta. One of the big things was that movement in the alpha, it felt like I was on ice all the time, and then movement in the beta felt a lot more weighted and just a lot more natural, I guess. The one issue I will say is that like sliding is still busted. Just please move on to some other kind of movement mechanic than sliding. Sliding is just broken the last few games.
Dolphin dives, bring it back. Dolphin dives.
Yes. Just go all the way back to
Please.
just go all the way back to Black Ops 2. Bring back the dolphin dives. I'm so down for that.
Dolphin dives, please. The best Call of Duty release, in my opinion, is Black Ops 2, and Dolphin dives were part of that.
So Black Ops 2 to me is still like the gold standard. That game was so simplistic, but at the same time, like there was so much depth to that simplicity. So
Plus,
it wasn't
the
really that
campaign was
simplistic.
fun.
Campaign was good. Zombies was good. Multiplayer was amazing. They actually had ranked play.
It was the perfect COD for me. It was the perfect
Okay,
COD.
I'm sorry. I need to get into this for 30 seconds.
Yes.
Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War Zombies. What do we think? Give me a quick 1-sentence answer. Yay or
If I was
nay?
more interested in the zombies, I think they'd be awesome, but it's just not my cup of tea. But I know people love it. So
Michael, yay or nay?
I'm more interested in it than I usually would be based on what I've seen.
Alex, yay or nay?
Well, I'm ready. I'm hyped, boys. I'm hyped for it. I love Black Ops 2 zombies again. Like Black Ops 2 perfect COD game. Zombies probably half of 75% of the fun I had on Black Ops 2. I sort of fell out of zombies from 3 and 4. I just didn't. I just wasn't interested in it. But I really like the changes they make. It looks interesting. It looks fast paced. I like how they have the helicopter. They're giving you a way out, and that's something like I can't really. I know I'm weird for this, but I can't really like. I have trouble playing like Minecraft or Terraria just because like I sort of like, okay, what do I do now? Where like having like an end game thing to do aim for is like I feel like that's gonna up my play. I'm like, okay, I'm not just like surviving just to inevitably die. Like existence itself. Like I have a goal to work towards. I can like get out. I can get in the helicopter and I can dip. And it's just the guns look fun. The zombies look incredible. They always knock it out of the park with the way the zombies look and move and
They do.
scream. And so I'm really ready for it. I'm really looking forward to seeing more.
And then Michael, what would you grade the beta?
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a solid B, and I think a lot of it comes from the way that the guns feel, the way that the TTK is put together. It feels like that was a strong part of Modern Warfare, and that this game has the potential to go even stronger with the little tweaks that they've made. And I really, really like the variety of guns that are available. I'm a big stickler for playing weird guns and playing all the different guns and stuff like that. So I love when, there's a lot of variance and a lot of different play styles that work and different, just experiences and stuff like that you could have. What scares me about the maps is that when you get to a beta, you're usually getting the best maps.
Mhm.
So you never know what's under the hood. They push these ones out and say that these are our, best maps that, we put the most time into. And the other ones that are coming out, you don't know how many of them are going to be like awesome, cool, fun, competitive maps, and how many of them are going to be like, oh no, you can't play this, like skip this one. And so that's always a red flag for me. But I really like what I saw from the maps, from the guns. I'm giving it a very solid flat B.
And Alex, give me a quick sentence or two. What is your grade for the beta?
I'm gonna give it a strong B as well. Right on the cusp of being a B plus.
I'm giving it a B plus myself.
I thought it has me excited. I feel like we haven't touched on the ramifications that crossplay support right out of the gate is going to bring the game. Zombies crossplay is going to hit like a truck for me, and I feel the gunplay feels nicer. It feels different than Modern Warfare, but feels more fun. Everything looks good. Everything looks good. I'm really excited for the time period. I think they can do some interesting things with story mode as well. I'm just excited to see more of it and see where it's going to take us.
Absolutely. I think that's going to wrap it up here for episode 1 of Countdown to Cold War. This is DuckTV Esports with Alec Sapolin, Alex Larvik, Michael Streit, and Billy Spots, and we will talk to you all soon.